What up YouTube, and welcome to my first KVK video. The matchup is K299 versus K286. Now I missed the first few hours of KVK just because of my time zone. I go to bed before it starts, and by the time I wake up we're down 640 million points already, so we've not got off to a great start. So I decided to make something of a first impression and pop all my buffs and get my fervor, and I jump in here to hit this guy. He's around 600 million, so I'm like, you know what, he's got at least one march out in KL, I can probably solo him. So send my 1.8 million march against him, and it turns out he has a full 14 million troops at home. I do actually manage to somehow eke out a win in terms of total losses. Obviously he wins in casualties because I'm killing tier 1s and tier 2s. He has a huge meat shield for his front line, so I don't even touch his tier 3s. But I do win in casualties, so it counts as a win, and he teleports away. Now he was in a spear skin, so I was happy to solo him. This guy is in an imp skin, so I decided to bring in Covya, my cav account, so that I can rally him, but he jumps away before I can do so. So I jump around a bit, clear out all of the great cities for anyone who's in them, and then I see these guys gathering down here in Casterly Rock. Now, while I wouldn't normally attack gatherers, in this instance I choose to do so because I can't find his castle, and having the reroute skill means that when I attack them, there will be some survivors that are rerouted away from the battle, so his gatherers will start marching home, and I can just follow the line to figure out where his castle is. But when I do that here, it turns out that he is bubbled, so I just go and catch up with all my messages, figure out what's actually happening in the KVK, speak to the people who were online overnight so I can figure out what's going on, and I hear that this guy is a trap castle. Never one to back down from a challenge, I decide to go and solo it, because no one has actually got a report from it yet because he keeps killing everyone. And having not learned any caution from the first attack, may as well just solo it again, right? It turns out this is a roughly 1 million size garrison from a bow account called On Fire, and then the rest of the troops are just from this small castle. So I chase the line from the rerouted troops home to find On Fire's castle, and I decide that I'll come down here to hit him. Now, I Dragon Bite and I pop Agile because, you know, it's an 800 million castle, he's bows, I want to be as strong as I can. And then it's like, you know what, I'm still going to rally him because I'm going to be a bit more cautious after how this has started. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute, I got his lord in that garrison, so I'm not going to rally him, I'm going to solo him. And by the time I've made my mind up, he has sped all of his troops home, and when I attack, he manages to bubble. So that was a complete waste of time. He then starts talking in world chat about how we should have a fight, and he's sitting there bubbled in front of me, so I'm not really sure what he's talking about. But I decide I'll go and look at KL, and there's a couple of people marching out, so chase their lines home, hit their castles, and then wait for the troops to come back. At this point in the KVK, I'm fairly concerned that we're not going to be able to catch up. 700 million points is a fairly large deficit for kingdoms of this size, you know. There's not that many points worth of eliminations up for grabs, even if everyone was unbubbled. And to add to that, there's a lot of inf castles here, which I'm not going to be able to fight effectively with my spears. I've got Covya with his calves, but he's not particularly strong. He's fairly good for his size. I don't trust him to be able to win rallies against castles when he's outnumbered 3 or 4 to 1, especially if they've got spear in their castle, which, you know, almost everyone will. But if we're going to win, then taking advantage of opportunities like this to hit people as their troops are coming home are essential. So I managed to catch them, get them killed, and at this point I decide I'll go around and clear out all of the great cities. Most of them will turn out to be empty, like King's Landing here was, but I do get a couple of good hits in here, so it is worth showing it. Storm's End here is full of almost 1.8 million spears, for example. And I see some troops coming out, but I noticed that they're from like Gandalf, who I've already got the coordinates of, so there's no point in chasing them for now. I will hit them when they get back later. So I jump on down to Sunspear, and while there were troops inside, it was one troop from the PO account, so not much of value here. So I move on up to Highgarden, where I finally managed to find White Gandalf's lord. He was in this great city. I catch another 1.1 million troops in here, so some more elimination points. That one was a complete mix of everything though, with a slight edge to spears, so it wasn't quite as good casualties wise, but it's still not a problem. I clear out King's Landing again and jump over to Casterly Rock, which is empty, as is Riverrun. The army that's coming back there is Sylvana from the trap castle I hit earlier, not worth chasing them home. clear out Erie, it's also empty. And then I go and do the same with Winterfell. At this point, I've been sent scouting reports for all of the great cities back on 299, and a lot of them have people in. And they are primarily led by a large inf player. Now, I make a mistake here. I choose I will go and clear out King's Landing first. But because it's an inf lord who is leading the rally, I decide I'll have to rally it with Covya rather than trying to solo it. I definitely have not already tried to solo it and got my ass handed to me despite countering them. Anyone who says or can prove otherwise is a liar. But the mistake here was that this guy is also leading multiple other great cities in 299 at this point. So what I should have done is jumped around with the big guy and cleared them all out, because I would happily hit against Inf with my spears if it means that his lord isn't there. Instead, by rallying King's Landing, all I do is give them plenty of time to recall from all of the other great cities. So by the time that the rally on King's Landing launches, they can just recall, and they've got all their other troops home, so they can bubble up as soon as they get these guys back. It also means that I've missed plenty of opportunities to follow the lines back from other great cities because I didn't notice them recalling, so I don't know where any of the castles are already, so it was all around just a pretty bad decision that cost me a lot of elimination points. You see an army returning there, I'd sent them off to attack Riverrun, but it was already empty by this point, so the mistake has been made and it is a costly one. And as expected, as soon as the rally launches, they recall, and I don't manage to track anyone home apart from this one guy. Everyone else speeds up so quickly that I don't follow the lines at all. So I only managed to find this guy. I don't know if he didn't want to speed his troops home at this point or what, but I catch what is there and kill them, and catch the troops returning as well. It turns out that he was just AFK, so I didn't have to time that so well, but I do what I must. So at this point, there's basically no one left unbubbled. They've all run away and hidden for now, so I decided, alright, I may as well get what points I can by just sitting in great cities. Now I do take something of a risk here. I lead King's Landing with my spear account, and I lead Storm's End with my cav account, and then I still take Erie and Riverrun. So obviously the troops there are not going to be particularly strong with no lord present. But I then find out that there's this guy over on 286 causing some problems again, so I decide I will send Covya over to fight him. It is a cav account, so doing cav on cav is not too bad, but the reason I chose to send Covya rather than the larger account is because Covya had not yet attacked 286, meaning he's not going to get a 30-minute cooldown on jumping back when he goes over there, and I figured that this guy, being in an alliance by himself, or well, on this kingdom at least, obviously Wynn's not a small alliance, I figured that meant he was going to be a zero castle, and indeed he was, so I got nothing out of that attack. A little later here, Beelzebub shows up again. That is the large infantry account that was holding all of the great cities in 299 before, and he starts attacking people. At this point, I know he's a pretty good player because he's already managed to hide his troops coming back from great cities really quickly, so I don't really want to jump over there to hit him. For one thing, I'm not entirely convinced that I could beat him even if I rallied him with Covya to send the cav in. So it's not really a winning proposal, and fortunately I managed to basically threaten him, and he agrees that he will go away and bubble as long as he's allowed to leave one troop from someone in his alliance in King's Landing to try and get the timer back, because as it turns out, TDR, the other alliance that we're fighting against, are invaders to the kingdom, so Bia and TDR are having something of a battle to try and hold King's Landing. It doesn't really make too much of a difference to me whether or not OO are managing to hold King's Landing. They didn't have that many troops in it, so they weren't earning that many points, and as long as there's only one troop in it from Bia, then I don't really care that they're holding it. So I say, you know what, that's fine. You can hold King's Landing, and as long as you go away and bubble up and are not putting, millions of troops in there to earn points. At this point, I'm not convinced I'm going to get enough points because I think I have to leave at 1800 game time, so I decide I will move to somewhere in the middle of the kingdom where I can hit 6 great cities at once. And this is obviously even riskier. I've now got 4 great cities full of tier 4s with no lord present, so they're going to have absolutely garbage tier stats, but basically no one shows up for the rest of the day. On Fire briefly on bubbles at one point, but he decides it's not worth fighting, so he goes and hides again. I would have fought him, but my army size buff had expired at this point, so even if I wanted to solo him with something less than a 100%, it wouldn't have earned me enough points to justify losing the points from occupying great cities. Now I do end up playing the whole KVK rather than leaving at 1800, so as you saw there, I managed to get first and second with my 2 accounts, and I get so many points from occupying great cities that my larger account here even manages to make it to 45th in the whole world rankings for points earned. But that is it for this KVK. I hope you've enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments down below how your KVK went. Did you guys manage to win?